The scumbag cheater who took too long to nuke his account before his girlfriend gave us an update. A boyfriend wants help but doesn't want to be told that he's the problem. The weird justification to be stalking your nanny. And a guy who you think may be an a-hole, but honestly, he did the right thing. What is up, my snacks? Welcome back. My name's Jack. Thanks for coming by. Some more Reddit stories for you all. Let's begin. A story from r/true off my chest that began just a day ago and was deleted, but sadly, not fast enough for their partner to later find out. I cheated on my girlfriend of 2 years with an escort, and the only thing that saved me was a trip to Panera Bread afterwards. I'll never, ever do it again. So me and my girlfriend have been dating for 2 years now. I really love her, but I've had a Smex addiction side to me that's taken over my life. Guess I don't really love her if I'm cheating on her, right? Well, after months of research, I wanted to meet this escort who I've been seeing online in ads. So I tell my girlfriend goodnight, and instead Uber to the hotel where she's staying at. She was beautiful, but the whole time I was imagining my girlfriend. It wasn't the best experience. After we finished, I left, contemplating telling her, but didn't. So after I left, I Ubered to Panera Bread to get something to eat. My girlfriend knows I like going out to restaurants by myself. I actually prefer eating alone as I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I finish and Uber home. 2 days later, she hits me with the, "So did you go anywhere of note 2 days ago?" I say, "No." She then pulls up Uber receipts from my email showing I Ubered to a hotel. This is because I logged into my email on her computer a couple months back. I was shocked. I was caught. I felt ashamed. And I was shook. I didn't know what to do, so I did the worst thing possible. I lied. I said Uber took me to the wrong location. Since I'd only been there 20 minutes before Ubering to Panera, she found that plausible, I guess. I then gaslit her, saying that she doesn't trust me, and that she doesn't love me, that Ubering there was an honest mistake. She knows it wasn't an affair because she's been with me the entire month. It was just a quick 20-minute escort visit. She couldn't ever imagine me using a worker like that. So we argued, but ultimately, we agree that I went to Panera Bread and came home. It's been 2 months since then. Got an STD test and it came clean. I want to love my girlfriend the way she deserves, although I know deep down I don't deserve it. But again, who said this world is just and fair? We're both extremely happy and in love. I don't feel much regret anymore. I hope we live happily ever after. How endearing. They broke a boundary that's clearly established in their monogamous relationship, disrespected his partner, but don't worry, it's an endearing action of his, because he was imagining his girlfriend the whole time he was cheating on her. Because as we all know, it's purely your intention that matters. So you go ahead and race 50 kilometers and miles over the speed limit. Just tell police officers you're training yourself to be a professional racer. One other beautiful thing to note here is that the start of the story should never be what their final point is and what to take into consideration most. What should take into consideration most is what do they ultimately feel like at the end, because that's their last final thought. And what's their final thought? Oh, they don't feel much regret anymore. Yeah, way to assure us you're never going to do that again, by not acknowledging the consequences of your actions. Those of you who enjoy a bit of schadenfreude, rejoice! For the great thing about these kind of posts is that they spread on social media, and thankfully, his partner uses said media. As in a still technical update, though with a different account, Distraught Girl here, being the girlfriend, gives us the update herself. Where do I even begin? It's been a whirlwind of the last 6 hours for me. Thanks to Reddit for doing your thing. I was tipped off by a girlfriend who saw the thing come up on her recommended feed. I searched his phone and came across all kinds of messages with girls and escorts he didn't even bother deleting. Coming across these things in the boyfriend, who I thought was the most sweet guy on planet Earth, felt like a gut punch. We were together 4 years, actually. I can't believe he did this to me. He looked at me and tried gaslighting me again, about how that was all a work of fiction and that none of it was true. It was just to provoke a reaction on Reddit. But after seeing the messages, I couldn't believe him anymore. I gathered some things, left our apartment, and staying at my parents' right now. Lesson learned, y'all. Don't trust Texas boys, where I'm from. Besides that, I feel like I'm a candidate for Broken Heart of the Year because I've never felt so distraught and betrayed in my life. The pain I'm feeling can't even begin to be described by words. Maybe I'll feel more and explain later, but for now, I'm just sticking to the grieving process. He was the love of my life. He even met my mum and dad and my 2 younger brothers. I thought I was going to be able to marry him and make him the happiest guy on planet Earth, but turns out He had other plans. He ate at a Potbelly, not a Panera, by the way. Weird way to try and disguise it. Thanks again, Reddit. You guys saved me. I'm grappling with what to do next. I don't know where to go in life without him. Definitely not in any direction he's going, please. Also, you do gotta love that. His way to disguise himself from being the guy who was doing this is to lie about the distance of years they've been together, and also to change the place you ate at. Like, dude. Those things weren't even the major implications as to what you were doing. You could have just brought up that you went somewhere else at the time that helped get you away from being caught out, but no. Man was so lazy in his way of being deceitful. Some great points in the comments, of course, yes. As anyone would feel in a 4-year relationship only to have it thrown away, you'd feel like it was a waste of time. But Heathens here makes a nicer point. Those 4 years were not a waste of time. You have learned a lot during that time. You learned you can listen to your gut as to when something isn't feeling right. You learned you are strong enough when you need to be respectful and to yourself to walk away. So overall, that's rather concluded. It's nice to know this man has hopefully learned his lesson and not used his addiction as an excuse to be a piece of work. Like, okay man, you have an addiction? The fact you can acknowledge that means you should work on it and therefore technically avoid succumbing to it. You're not gonna get a pity for saying you're addicted to drugs and then talk about how great it was of an experience to take drugs. Meanwhile, in r/relationships, I'm a 32 male, and I tried everything to help my grieving girlfriend who's 29, but she refused to cooperate and chose her best friend, a 30-year-old male, over me. I'm a 32 male living with my girlfriend, 29, for 6 months. We live 2 hours apart, but we try to spend every weekend together, and because she often works from home, she can come over during weekdays. Despite the distance, we have a strong relationship, but her mother died unexpectedly last week. She didn't want to be alone, but I couldn't visit her, so I told her she can come over. She said she wouldn't feel safe driving that much in that mental state. I accepted that and promised I'll visit as soon as I can. However, the next day I found out she spent the night at her best friend's place. Brock, 30-year-old male. My problem is that she said she can't drive to my place, but then she could go to his? I mean, yeah, he's closer than me, but she probably drove there too. Still, even though I had every right to point that out, I let it slide because of the situation with her mum. On Friday, I was finally able to visit, and I found her asleep in the middle of the day, hair unwashed, used tissues everywhere. Brock and his boyfriend were there, cooking some weird soup. Okay, I'm immediately confused as to why the OP is upset by Brock being around when he's clearly gay. I didn't want to make a scene. I politely told the boys they can leave, because I can take care of my own girlfriend. I could tell they didn't like it, but they left. When the girlfriend finally woke up, I told her it's time to wash her hair, clean up, and then we'll go to a hardware store. I'm a carpenter. I've always wanted to teach her basic stuff that everyone should know had to be able to handle things around the house. It was the perfect opportunity, because lying around won't make things better. I told her about my plan, and she looked at me like I'm an alien. She said she doesn't care about carpentry, but I insisted it'll help distract her, because she can't spend her life on a couch. We argued a bit. Then she tried to compromise by saying we could walk over to Brock's and have dinner there. It's a really long walk, so she'll spend time outside the house, but she feels safe there and won't be embarrassed if she starts to cry. I absolutely refused, because Brock and his boyfriend are the ones who allowed her to end up in this state. They let her do nothing all day, cooked for her, even changed her sheets. They acted like they're her new moms or something. When I told my girlfriend these worries, she snapped and said I'm making it worse. She doesn't need my carpentry lessons when she hasn't even buried her mother yet, and Brock and his boyfriend are the only ones who provide real comfort. So she'll go there whether I like it or not. I said if she goes there, I'll go back home. She said, good. One less a-hole in my life. So I'm back at home now. It hurt so much that she didn't appreciate my help and chose Brock. But I love her. In my opinion, I did everything having her best interests at heart. I'm interested in your advice, guys, because I want to make this relationship work, but I can't change who I am. I don't want to lose her, but I can't lose myself either. Oh, you sweet summer child. To be devil's advocate here, just for a little
little bit.
Clearly, this guy's way of processing grief is by doing things, keeping his hands busy, so to speak. For some, when they're in some sense of distress, they find solace in doing that. I can totally understand that. It is proven psychologically, for some people, that doing the complete opposite of something that is causing you grief can actually help your brain activity to better process it and get through it better. But that's the thing, it's very individual and subjective. Some people find listening to sad music when they're sad actually makes them feel worse, but then there are others who actually make it help them get through that moment. This just seems to be a classic case of him thinking that what works for him will work for her, not at all considering the fact that maybe she just needs to grieve and be in the moment. Let her just exist there. The dude thinks he needs to solve the situation when she doesn't need him to solve anything. She just needs him to be there for her. Of course, as the comments point out, he's not exactly helping himself find out what's going wrong here. As he says, I'm interested in your advice, guys, because I want to make this relationship work, but I can't change who I am. Translation, I'm interested in hearing what I want to hear, not that I'm the problem. Guys, tell me how to manipulate my grieving girlfriend into burying her emotions and engaging in my hobbies, which she has never had any interest in whatsoever. Yeah, man, were you going to teach her how to build a coffin? My love, if you want this burial done right, you gotta do it yourself. Yeah, overall, I think it's fair to say this guy's making the situation more about him and almost taking advantage of her vulnerability to try and get her to do what he wants. Either way, hopefully the man actually reflects on himself to realize he is the problem, otherwise he's not going to have her for very much longer. Over to r/Nanny now, with a story that began 2 weeks ago with an update just a week later. I think my mum boss might be tracking me. This is really weird to post, and I feel crazy for even thinking it. But so many weird things have happened over the past month. I've been working for this family. I feel like I need a second opinion or someone to tell me if I'm going crazy. Now, like I said, I've worked for this family since just before the new year. They have 2 kids, 2 and 8. I know they have trackers sewn into the 2-year-old's diaper bag and the 8-year-old's backpack. She told me about them, and I obviously have no issue with that. The kids are great. Mum boss is a single mum who seemed really lovely from our first few meetings. A few weeks ago, she sent me a text asking if I could come in now because she got called into work. I lied and said I was in big city in my state, visiting my sister for the weekend. It was a dumb white lie because I didn't want to be asked during the weekend if she kept being called in, as that has happened multiple times before and I really needed a full weekend to myself. But she simply responded, "You don't need to lie, I'll find a backup." Definitely gave me super weird vibes and was super embarrassing, but I shrugged it off and figured she may have been at Trader Joe's earlier in that day when I went, or she saw my car, something like that. Then this Tuesday, I came in and she was definitely cold towards me. I had been out celebrating a friend's birthday Monday night at a bar, but I nursed 1 drink the entire night and was never even tipsy. I take showers in the morning and wore clean clothes, so there's no way I smelled like alcohol. But she confronted me and accused me of being hungover, said I reeked of booze, and kept asking if I had a drinking problem because why would I be drinking on a Monday night? I was really put off and told her the truth, that it was my friend's birthday and I was just out celebrating with her and some other friends and hadn't even drank. She paused for a super long time and just nodded and left for work like nothing happened. Mum boss is super religious and very vehemently anti-alcohol, but I still feel like it was a weird accusation. I asked my girlfriend when I got home if I smelled like alcohol or anything somehow, and she couldn't smell anything. Earlier today was the final incident that really cemented this stupid conspiracy theory in my head. I took the bus this morning when I normally take my car because I'm extra broke right now and need to save gas. I got to her house around 10 minutes early, but sat in a little wooded curb area for a while until it was my official time to start. 5 minutes before my start time, Mum boss texts me, "Have you left yet? I have a meeting at 10:30. I am never late. I walked in early and she looked confused. When I mentioned taking the bus, she literally said, "Oh, that makes sense." What the hell do? I looked all over my car, in my backpack, and in my car's car seat. I couldn't find anything. Am I overthinking this? Of course, people in the comments do ponder how legitimate this is. Could she just be overthinking it? One person asks, do you drive the kids around? Because it does sound like she's tracking you. I mean, the way she accosted you on Tuesday was extremely inappropriate too. I would look for a new job, honestly. But while people in the comments were absolutely supporting this woman, she commented in an update, yes, she just found a tag under the car. To clarify in an edit, found an AirTag duct taped to the underside of my car. So very, very creeped out currently. Not sure what to say or do now. And so a week later we come to an update. If you saw my post from last week, you know I found an AirTag under my car put there by my mum boss. Sorry for not updating sooner. I've been stressed and busy to try to get another job pretty much all day, every day. So I ended up calling the police. They came to my place and checked out the car, AirTag, etc. And they went and spoke with mum boss. AirTag was in her name, by the way. I know some people were suggesting it could be someone else's, which sadly was a probability for a while because I do have a stalker, only making all of this more stressful. The mother was shocked that I had called the police over the tag and totally tried to gaslight the officers. She said that she put it there to make sure I wasn't speeding and as a backup if I lost their bags with the trackers. She also flat out lied and said she had told me, but I must have not been listening. They just gave her a warning and no further action was taken. I honestly don't think they really took my concern seriously. If anything, they seemed to side with her perspective. So that's awesome. Sarcasm. I'm obviously not working for her anymore, and have blocked her phone number because she was belittling me over calling the police over me keeping my children safe. On to the next job, I guess. Anyone with advice on how to warn other nannies in my area is appreciated. And as people highlight in the comments, this doesn't seem to be a case that they actually think the mother is in the right, they just didn't want to bother with the paperwork. If you really want to make sure this woman doesn't do it again, you need to actually push for charges yourself, which is an exhausting thing to have to do, but someone's got to do it. And depending on where you live, yes, this is totally illegal. Over to Am I the A-hole with a story that began 3 months ago and was recently updated. Am I the a-hole for cancelling a trip and refusing to pay my friend back for flights? I am currently on a semester abroad in Italy until Easter from the UK. My friend Polly wanted to come and visit at the end of next month. We had been talking about this trip and planning dates for ages, and she still hadn't booked anything, which is totally fine. However, in the meantime, I had been having more mental health issues and family drama and would like to go home to my parents around the time she is supposed to visit. It is the only time that my family will be free when flights are affordable for me to go home. 3 days ago, I sent Polly a long message explaining the situation and that I was sorry I would not be able to host her at the time we had planned for her to visit. She had still not booked anything at the time, but immediately seemed a bit defensive and sent me a message saying, "This is the only time I will be free to visit you. Can I come on these specific dates? I can book flights today. Is that okay?" I immediately, within 30 minutes, replied saying, "No, I'm sorry. As I explained, I would now like to go home at the time we had been planning the visit, and in any case, the first 2 days of your trip aren't what we discussed, and I have always been unable to host you at that time due to specific commitments. Normally, I would say to book 2 days later, but as I said, I really need to prioritize my mental health and go home at that time if possible." Well, she didn't respond again until the next day, and told me that she had already booked flights before checking whether I'd replied, and that she was expecting me to host her on the dates she had outlined. To be honest, I was quite shocked by this, and told her I couldn't host her then, and that she should have checked my response to her questions before booking the flights. She is now very angry, and insisting that I should pay her back for the cost of her flights, around £100, which is a lot for either of us. But I told her that this shouldn't be my responsibility, as she should have double-checked with me before spending the money. I later offered to refund half as a peace offering, but she said this wasn't anywhere near good enough. Polly told our mutual friends the situation, and they are all saying I'm the a-hole and should pay her back in full, as she and her family apparently have no money. I'm devastated to have lost this friendship on top of everything else going on in my life, and really confused about whether I'm in the wrong. So am I the a-hole for cancelling this trip and refusing to refund my friend for her flight tickets? Top comment really sums this up. You've been planning, and in all that time she didn't book tickets. You sent her a message saying you couldn't host, and then she did book tickets. Not the a-hole. Retract the offer to refund half, and clarify the actual situation with your friends. One comment weirdly deleted, but they make a good point in the highlight here. Are you sure these tickets exist and she's not trying to scam you? And more comments branch off on this idea. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually blew this money off in some other way and then is suddenly trying to text you as a way to get that money back. She didn't book flights while you had responded. She realized she suddenly needed some extra cash, and hey, why not try and get some from you while you're feeling guilty? Well, we find out 8 days ago with an update to this story from October. To the people who said Polly was lying about booking a flight because it seemed suspiciously cheap or she could have cancelled within 24 hours, she booked on a cheap UK airline, and this is fairly standard pricing. Plus, their cancellation and refund policies are what you'd expect from an airline where they charge you extra just to sit next to the person you booked with. She's many things, but not a total liar. She definitely booked after I told her not to. Well, after everything blew up with Polly, we didn't speak for a couple of weeks. I talked it over with my parents and they said that I was under absolutely no obligation to pay her a penny, which I agree with, as did all of this sub. However, they suggested that I could offer to pay a small amount, like 20% of the fare, in the interests of salvaging the friendship. I liked this idea as I was still feeling so heartbroken and didn't want to throw away 10 plus years of friendship if avoidable. So I sent her a message explaining that I didn't feel I owed her any money for her mistake, but that I really cared about her and our friendship, and that I would be willing to make a small contribution if it meant that we could meet on happier terms in the future and resume our friendship. Well, she left me on red for over a month. She did eventually reply to me to tell me that I should still pay the full fare, claiming she was seconds away from booking when I originally spoke to her, and then messaged me a reminder of this a few days later. That second day was my birthday, and she sent me no well wishes along with it. Just a reminder that she wanted money. I had finally been pushed over the edge. I was absolutely raging and told her it was unacceptable to message me stuff like this on my birthday. That was the last time we spoke, and now I've blocked her on everything. It also turns out she didn't tell as many of our mutual friends as I thought. One of them is no longer speaking to me. I've tried to reach out, but she's ignoring me, so I'm leaving it because who needs people like that? Another pair had heard the story and said they want to remain neutral, which makes me think they didn't hear the whole truth. But I can't be bothered to push it as they're still cool with me and don't really care about the Polly drama. I'm still feeling great now. Things are going well with my family and I'm really enjoying my last few months of semester abroad. I've made some good friends and I'm having the best time. I wish all the drama had never happened, but I'm grateful to have been seeing the true colors of someone I would have continued to trust otherwise. Thanks for all the support on here. A good top comment for life in general. It's really sad, but what I learned getting older is that some friendships just have an expiration date. Especially at your age, studying, spending time abroad, adulting. There is so much development going on, and it's normal to just go in different directions and part ways. It might not look like this now, but it might be for the best, seeing how you already have quite the differences in how you treat friends and what they owe you. Now we move over to a wonderful screw-up. Today I screwed up by telling my 17 girlfriend who's 16 her dress is too revealing. My girlfriend's birthday is coming up and she wanted to look for a new dress on Amazon to wear to her birthday party. She said she wanted a dress that was revealing to wear to show off her body, and I was all for it as she deserves to show off what she worked for. But I think she is taking it too far. She chose a dress that barely covers her chest and her nether region, and the rest is see-through fishnet material. I told her she would look good in it, but it's too revealing for her birthday party. Thing is, I didn't know how to word it correctly at first, and it made it sound like I didn't appreciate the way she looked, and like I didn't like her body. She overthinks every compliment I give her, and questions every nice thing I say to her now. That's just the story there, and it's short, I understand, yes. But it's not so much just this story that makes it just wow. As coming down to the comments, OP shows us the dress in question, that apparently even Reddit deemed not safe for work. So yeah, this is the dress a 16-year-old wanted to wear for their birthday. Are you ready for this standard of fashion these days? YouTube, please don't demonetize me. Yeah, like for one thing, that person has been photoshopped to hell and back. Just look how naturally that hand sits on that hip. But I think it's fair to say that from the basis of this image, it's clear your young 16-year-old girlfriend is definitely trying to pursue an insecurity about her body image. That or is just desperate to be acknowledged as someone as beautiful as this, even though it's completely unrealistic. And look, yes, curves and shapes on a body is great, it's wonderful, but you don't need to be this extreme. Having a block of dark chocolate's delicious, but having 50 bars shoved down your throat? No, that's too much. My grandfather would call that a gownless evening strap. Another good point, are her family not going to be at this party? That isn't a dress, it's literally lingerie. Perhaps she genuinely doesn't know that, but the bra and panties the model is wearing underneath is not part of the dress. To be super clear, the whole dress is completely see-through. This wouldn't be appropriate for an adult to wear to a birthday party, let alone a minor. I like to imagine this is the equivalent of a young boy idolizing the Liver King and trying to buy his supplements. Like, it's great you want to pursue that standard of physique for yourself, okay, as long as you're doing it in a healthy way, but that's not realistic. That person you see there isn't you. You're not going to achieve that naturally like they have through steroids and other fake things equivalent to Photoshop. And yeah, thankfully in the comments everyone kind of agrees. You didn't really screw up, mate. You kind of saved her. Sure, as a young kid, you sucked at explaining it right, but this is one of those examples where shaming can actually be very good. It's just, you gotta do it correctly. Anyway, that's the end of today's stories. Thank you as always for watching. Hopefully I see you next time, and if I don't, it was because I went to Panera Bread, guys, okay? I definitely wasn't anywhere else. How dare you accuse me of not being here on this channel for you guys to talk about more stories? I was at Panera Bread, okay? Anyway, bye.